Hello everyone. In this tutorial, I'll be sharing with you tips and information regarding MUET speaking test. Alright, let's proceed. Now firstly, let's look at the test procedure. For this speaking test, there are actually two sessions held in a day. Session 1 will start as early as 7:30 in the morning and session 2 starts at 10:30. Okay, so at 7:30 and also 10:30, students should gather at the quarantine room, and later you'll be informed where the quarantine and the test room are. All right, and once in the quarantine room, candidates will be grouped into groups of 3 or 4 depending on the number of candidates in that session. For example, in session 1, there are usually 20 candidates. So there will be 5 groups of 4 people in there, right? And next, candidates will go into the test room as a group according to the order, all right? Meaning group 1 will go in there first. The test of the first session will start immediately after 8 o'clock, and there will be a bell calling the candidates to go into the test room. All right, so everybody in group 1 will go in there together. After 30 minutes, it's the second group's turn to be tested. So basically, the duration of the test is 30 minutes per group. All right, easy, right? Okay, now let's look at the next slide. It's on the test format. There are actually two tasks. They're called Task A and Task B. Alright, Task A is actually the individual presentation where you have to speak for 2 minutes. The 4 candidates that go into the test room will be labeled as candidate A, B, C, and D. Alright, and for Task A, candidate A will speak first for 2 minutes. And once candidate A is done, the 2 minutes is then given to candidate B and followed by C and D. And when all candidates have spoken, we'll proceed to task B, that is the group discussion or group interaction. Okay, and 10 minutes is given for the group to have the discussion. And in task B, anyone can start the discussion and anyone also can conclude the discussion at the end of the 10 minutes. Okay, all right, let's move on. All right, now let's look at the test flow. Once you are seated in the test room, you will be given 1 minute to read the question. Now, when you read the question, please make sure that you read both task A and task B. All right, because if you have words that you don't understand, that is the time that you could ask the examiners the meaning of the words, which is at the end of the 1 minute time. In fact, that is actually the only time you can ask the examiners. Okay, and if suddenly you have a question sometime after the test has started, usually the examiners will not entertain your question. So that's why it is very important for you to read both task A and task B. So if you after you have read everything and you have a question, you can use the time to ask. All right. Okay, after 1 minute of reading the question, you will be given 2 minutes to prepare your responses for task A. The stationery items will be provided for you to use during the test, so don't worry, you need not bring your own into the test room. Okay, and once the 2 minutes ends, candidate A will be asked to present first for 2 minutes, then followed by candidate B, C, and D. And when all the candidates have presented, we will move on to task B, the group discussion. All right, but before you're allowed to discuss, you'll be given another 2 minutes to prepare for the group discussion. Okay, so then 10 minutes are given to you to discuss in a group, and at the end of the 10 minutes, usually the examiners will ask you to conclude the discussion and what to say in the conclusion, right? You could state what the consensus of the group is or what sort of agreement all the group members have reached in the discussion. Okay, we will go into task B later. All right, let's go on. Now let's look at the question. The question consists of the situation and the statements of the tasks. For example, like this one you see on the screen. This is the page of candidate A's question. All right, now actually, all the candidates will present their tasks which is based on the same situation. All right, now let's take a closer look at this question. The situation says, spending within the budget is challenging to many people. What should we do to avoid overspending? Give your suggestions. All right. Task A says, you think drawing up a shopping list is the best way. Explain. So here, it is obvious that candidate A is supposed to talk about how or why drawing up a shopping list is the best way. Right? The best way to do what? The best way to avoid overspending. Okay? So when you are presenting, you need to connect your idea with the situation. So you answer the question stated in the situation. All right? Okay. Now let's look at task B. Which of the following is the best way to avoid overspending? Discuss. So down there, you have 4 options to consider in the discussion. And all these 4 options are actually the main ideas presented by candidates A, B, C, and D in task A. Okay, right. Let's proceed. Now, here I have grouped all candidates task A into one page so that it will be easy for us to see and easy to prepare. This is for practice purposes. Let's take a closer look at the task. We have looked at candidate A's task just now. Now let's look at B's. You think exercising self-control is the best way. Explain. Alright, and candidate C is supposed to talk about reducing the frequency of shopping is the best way. And candidate D should present on bringing only the amount of money you need is the best way. All right. So this is actually the question for each candidate that you have to, that needs to be presented in the 2 minutes. And you have got to explain your ideas, you have got to give reasons and also examples according to what the question is asking you to present. All right. And you have got to make sure that you have enough explanation and examples to make your explanation clear to your listeners. At MUET level, we value clarity of explanation rather than the quantity of the points that you manage to come up with during the presentation time, either in task A or task B, right? And if you have the ambition to get band 4 and beyond in your speaking, you must explain your ideas well, as this actually reflects your level of understanding and also your level of maturity towards the topic or the issue you're presenting. Okay? All right, let's go on. In this tutorial, I'll guide you on how you could generate ideas so that you could optimize the 2 minutes of the 2 minutes of the preparation time given to you. Okay? But before we look at the tips on how to generate ideas, let's look at the presentation structure of task A. I'll share the tips for task A first, yeah. For task B, there'll be another tutorial on that which I'll share later. Okay? All right. Now you begin your presentation of task A with greeting. Make it short and sweet. Now, what do you mean by that? You have got to remember that 2 minutes is very short, so it is unnecessary for you to waste that 2 minutes with lengthy greetings. Okay, just make it short. As for example, you can simply say good morning everyone, and then you proceed with your presentation, your points. Or you can say assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. That's it, just that. Then next, you present your thesis statement. This statement is your task which is stated in the question. In the previous lessons, in your writing lessons, I'm sure you have learned the concept of thesis statement, topic sentences, supporting details, right? All right, so you apply the knowledge that you have learned in that and those writing lessons here. Okay, so after you have stated your thesis statement, next you present your point number 1, and you put that idea of your point into a sentence. It becomes your topic sentence. So you present your topic sentence 1, and then you explain your idea, and then you proceed to topic sentence 2 or idea number 2, and then you explain, and next at the end of the 2 minutes you conclude. All right, you say in the conclusion, you restate your thesis statement, and then you say thank you. That's it. All right. Okay. End of the task A. Okay. Next. Now let's look at the tips on how you could use what you could use to help you generate ideas. A lot of students are always at a loss at what is it that they have to say in task A. All right, I'm sure you still remember your old friends, the WH questions. All right, so this is the time when you could use these questions. Those questions such as what, who, why, how, where, and when. These are what we call the WH questions because they start with W and also H. All right. Now, the question is which question to use? All right. Do we have to use all these questions to generate the idea? For example, if let's say you are candidate A, do you have to use all these questions? No, it is not necessary. You choose the question that would give you the most important information that you need to present. All right, let's take a look at the question again. Where is the question just now? All right, here. Now, let's look at candidate A's task. Drawing up a shopping list is the best way. All right, of all the WH questions that we have in the list just now, which one is the most suitable to use? All right, logically speaking, if you are supposed to talk about drawing up a shopping list with relation to the question in the situation which says, what should we do to avoid overspending? So the idea of avoiding overspending is there, and you have to give the reason why having a shopping list would help to avoid overspending. So in other words, you're going to use the question of why, isn't it? Why having a shopping list would avoid overspending? Or you could also use the question of how. How drawing up a shopping list would help to avoid overspending. That would give us the answer to the question in the situation, don't you think so? All right. Now, supposing you want to use the question of what? Let's put it there. What is a shopping list? You can also provide that information. Yes, yeah, you can. But if you present on what we mean by shopping list only, do you think that piece of information is actually answering the question in the situation? No, right? Because the question in the situation asks you to present on what do we do or what should we do to avoid overspending. What do we do to avoid overspending? So if you present only the information of what a shopping list is, it doesn't answer the question. Or if you answer the question on when should we prepare shopping list? It also doesn't answer that question in the situation. Or another WH question such as where should we prepare the shopping list? Also, it doesn't answer that question. So this is what I mean just now. We choose the WH question that answers the situation. So here the best are those two, like how having a shopping list help to avoid overspending, and why having a shopping list could help avoid overspending. All right, so the answers to these questions are actually your points, okay, for candidate A. So candidate A's points and also contents in this presentation of these 2 minutes. All right, okay, let's go back there. So again, these WH questions are actually a guide for you on what sort of information you could present. All right, by providing the answers to these questions, you are actually giving the contents of the presentation that you are supposed to present in your task. Okay, all right, let's go to the next slide. Now, there is another tip on how to generate the ideas. The most important one is you have to jot down key ideas only. I always advise my students only jot down key ideas and don't write sentences. You have to think it in a more logical manner. You only have 2 minutes to prepare your points. All right. Even if you are the fastest writer in the world, you wouldn't be able to write that much in 2 minutes. Okay. So do not try to write sentences. You only actually need to give your eyes the clue or the cues on what is it exactly that you are supposed to present next. So therefore, writing out the whole sentences is not necessary. Right. Next, another tip is I always advise my students to use a graphic organizer or a concept map. Now, what do we mean by a graphic organizer? Okay, let's proceed. There are several examples. Now let's look at example number one. So this is what we call a tree diagram. I'm sure you are already very familiar with this kind of graphic organizer when you learned when you were at school. This is one of the examples of the I think map. Okay, do you still remember I think map? All right. So in this diagram, the ideas flow from the top to the bottom. Okay, let's look at another example. Now this is example number two. Here, also, this is also another tree diagram, but it moves from the left to the right, or it is moving in a horizontal manner. Okay, the earlier one just now, this one, the ideas flow from the top to the bottom. Okay, and this one, it flows from the left to the right. You could also have it from the right to the left. Okay, next, another example is using the bubble shape. All right, but the concept is still the same. The ideas branch out or branch um, out from the subtopics. Okay, so it is actually up to you which one you would want to adopt. You choose any one that you like best, but my advice of using a graphic organizer is so that you would be able to see the whole of the presentation, the ideas that you're going to present as a whole. Don't you think so? Rather than you write your notes or your points in line form, point by point, line by line. Okay, you would not be able to see everything as a whole as what you're going to present. And another drawback is if suddenly there is one idea pops up while you are preparing the second point, and the idea that just pops in your mind belongs to idea number one, it is going to be quite difficult to add in if you are using line by line, right? You're using the listing kind of format, because there's no space to add in. But if you use a graphic organizer like this, it is always easier for you to just add another branch somewhere. Okay, all right, let's move on. Now I have some advice for you. Please speak English every day to loosen your tongue. In the previous lessons and the previous slides that I have posted to you earlier, I have given you the dates of your test and also the duration of time left that you have. You have approximately 7 more weeks to go, all right, to prepare yourself before the speaking test. So you need to speak the language every day to loosen your tongue, so that English words will come easier. All right. Don't bother what others will think about you when you speak English. All right. They are not. You have got to think it this way. They are not the ones affected by your grade. that you will get later. All right, but you are going to be the one affected, right? So meaning, if let's say you worry so much about what your friends or what other people are going to think about when you try to speak English, and because of that you don't use the language, and later your grade on your MUET is not so good, so do you think that that grade is going to affect those people? Of course not. All right, it's only going to affect you. So you have got to think more maturely in that manner, because you're doing this not for them, you're doing this for you in your future. All right, remember, you have a goal to achieve and you have dreams to chase. So are you going to sacrifice all those dreams and your goal because of your worry about what others are going to think or to say about you when you try to use English? You've got to think again. All right. Okay, now I have a few quotes that I love to share with you because they bring a lot of meaning and message. All right, so let's read this together. The first one here is, if you believe in yourself, anything is possible. Don't you think so? Everything starts from you. You have got to believe that you can do it. All right, other people will not know what you or how your ability is, but you have got to believe in yourself that you can do it, then you go for it. Now, Walt Disney once said, all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Now you have your dreams, you have your goal. Do you have the courage to get them to achieve them? All right, go all out, go get your dreams. Okay, next, another one from Maya Angelou. She is actually an American poet and also writer. Now, she said, if you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. All right? So, if you are trying to hide inside your shell, you would never know your true potential. What is it exactly that you could achieve? Okay? What kind of successes you're able to achieve if you don't come out from your shell? Okay? So, don't be afraid. Try out. Next, this is from Amelia Earhart. She was the first lady, the first lady pilot. Okay, and she said this once, the most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. Tenacity is like your determination. All right. So the most difficult thing is the decision to act, to put all those plans in your head into action. All right. So it is true, isn't it? You have so many plans in your head. You want to do this, you want to do that, you want to become this, you want to become that. But if you don't put all those plans to action, it will still stay in your head. All right. Now let's look at your task. Okay. Just now, we have looked at candidate A's task. Drawing up a shopping list is the best way. Actually, I have given you one, and I have prepared you another tutorial video on how to generate ideas using this graphic organizer on candidate A's task, which later I will post it to you. And I have also demonstrated to you a 2-minute presentation based on the preparation or the notes that I have prepared during the 2 minutes of the preparation. Okay, so which I will also share that with you later. Now, your task is, I want you to choose either candidate B's, candidate C's, or candidate D's task. All right, and time yourself for 2 minutes. Then you prepare your ideas and then you present it to me. Okay, just choose one. All right, here. First, you time yourself 2 minutes to prepare your points or ideas. Remember, use WH questions and then use a graphic organizer, and also drop in key ideas only. Remember, you don't have the time to write sentences. Okay, number 2, then you present those ideas in 2 minutes in Flipgrid. I'll give you the code later. All right. Now, if I believe that you can do it, I want you to believe that you can too. Okay, bye for now. See you later.